Hey guys, it's Candace.
And it's Elena.
And you're listening to Cousins on Crime. Guys, well, should we say that our office/studio is being worked on? If you hear anything, we have some work going on around here.
Yeah,
so.
And it might get a little hot and sweaty in here. So,
hey, at least it's March.
Can
you imagine if this would have happened
in June,
August,
July, August?
Yikes.
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, should we just get into the episode today?
Let's do it.
I'm not sure, I've got quite a lot of notes and we might get off on a tangent, but the case I have for you today is about a murder that was so shrouded in scandal that it almost got completely lost in the media. I'm curious to know if you remember this. When it went down back in the day, I don't even remember the part about the murder. And maybe that's because the reporting on the scandal seemed to drag out past the criminal proceedings and kind of overshadowed someone losing their life. And truly, this case it was so hard for me to connect to.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure it out. I kept telling Daniel, I was like, I don't know if it's because there's sports involved that I'm just not. I usually will latch on to the victim and I get very engrossed in the research and it's like I could not connect with this victim.
Okay.
And I started to realize that it was because of the scandal. Like it was because of this stupid scandal and it was disconnecting me from this victim.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to talk about the scandal. I'm going to minimize. I just had to stop digging into the scandal because it was really pissing me off.
Yeah,
and,
I'm sure.
I do have to talk about it because it is a product.
Okay, but it's not
the murder.
It's not
the story I want to tell today, to be honest with you. We're not going to focus on it. We're going to try and focus on the victim here. So today we're going to talk about the murder of Patrick Dennehy in Waco, Texas in 2003.
Okay.
So to help you orient yourself, if you're not a Texan, Waco, Texas is about an hour and a half north of the state's capital, Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. You might recognize the city of Waco from the whole David Koresh mess in the early 90s.
What is Waco doing?
I know. Well, if you're an HGTV fan, maybe you're thinking of Chip and Joanna Gaines and all the shiplap.
Have you been
exposing.
You've been there.
I've been to Magnolia. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was trying to squeeze in a trip to Magnolia this week and it just didn't happen.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, beautiful homes.
Yeah.
But if you're a sports enthusiast, you're probably thinking of Baylor University.
Right.
And that's where our story begins.
Okay.
Baylor University is a Division I school, which is a prestigious level in the NCAA because they are a member of the Big 12 Conference. I don't understand any of what I just said, but that's what my research revealed. Yay, sports. Head coach Dave Bliss had been at Baylor for a couple years by 2002 and had a very successful career before joining the Baptist University. He had coached at Oklahoma, SMU in Dallas, Texas, and New Mexico.
Okay.
And he was looking for a Christian university to coach for before retirement, which was not in the near future, but like he just wanted to go out with a Jesus. I don't know. He just said
me too.
I know.
Me too.
He said it aligned with his values
Okay.
and he just that's what he wanted his last bang to be.
Okay.
When the opportunity at Baylor came along, it seemed like the perfect fit for the both of them because the men's basketball program at Baylor had not been doing so hot in the years prior to Coach Bliss arriving. They were not winning a ton of games. They were just kind of running in a hamster wheel.
He's people, let me see what I can do.
Yeah, like people were attending the games, but they were probably all alumni or janitors or people that had to be there in the building. They weren't making waves and standing out in the game in any way, shape, or form. So getting Dave Bliss in here was meant to turn things around. It was meant to be a new era for Baylor.
Yeah.
They needed to win. Winning meant money for the university and the coach. So in 2002, the Baylor Bears were gearing up for a new basketball season. I said that Coach Bliss had been there for a couple years by now, but he still hadn't got a hold of the sales and what he hadn't been able to accomplish this victorious era that he had come there to do. He was feeling the heat by now because, like I said, it had been a couple years.
It wasn't clicking.
And it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And he was meant to come in there and swoop in and save everybody. So he knew he needed
that's got to be so frustrating.
Different players.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got to have new recruits. So that year, he brought in a bunch of new players for the next season. One such young man was Patrick Dennehy. Patrick was a breakout star, standing at 6 feet 10 inches tall.
Ooh.
He came from Santa Clara, California. He was a bit of an outlier as a basketball player because his stepdad, Brian, said that Patrick didn't start playing basketball until he was 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
I mean, usually...
When he got his height, probably.
I know, right? We usually see these outstanding players that are super talented and making waves in the industry. They usually tell stories about how they've been playing basketball since they could walk.
Yeah.
And so for him to Patrick did not need to do that because it just came natural to him. He picked up a ball at 13 and he was like, I like it. I can do this. And he was hooked. He was good.
I mean, I can see that because my brother, he got his height really, he started growing in middle school, freshman, and they're like, hey, we need you on the basketball team. He's 6'7" now, and he just never wanted to play basketball. He wanted to play football. So anyway, when I say he's coming into his height, and they're like, oh, you would be good at that.
Right.
So that's what I envision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just so happened that he was really good naturally. Patrick had a younger sister who he loved to hang out with when he was home. She described him as outgoing and bending over backwards for anyone. His mom described him as a bit of a clown, which is probably how my mom would describe me. She just said that he was silly. He just liked to make people laugh. And he was really ambitious. I mean, he wanted to go all the way with basketball and eventually play pro. So the season before he transferred to Baylor, the 2001-2002 season, he played in New Mexico as a sophomore, and he was averaging more than 10 points a game, more than 7 rebounds a game, and was honorable mention in the All-Mountain West Conference.
Okay.
Again, sounds great.
Okay.
That sounds like an accolade to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I when I was in high school, I was averaging 0 points a game. So 10 seems really good a game.
Yeah.
He was dominating at New Mexico, which is what caught the attention of Coach Bliss, and he was invited to Baylor University on a full ride scholarship. When Patrick came to Baylor, he felt secure. I mean, he had a place to live. He was given a black Chevy Tahoe to drive.
What?
His tuition was being paid for. I mean, it was not just the security, but a spot on the Baylor Bears team was an amazing opportunity for him. The notoriety that Baylor gets in the Big 12 conference is standout. You know, they may have not been doing awesome, but
it's still a big name.
It is a big name, and he had the opportunity to really shine because he was really good. He was really excited.
And to be one of them that turned the team around.
Exactly. And that's what I mean is like he would have stood out.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have provided him lots of attention, and getting to that pro level would have been almost a shoo-in. But he'd have to chill for a minute because he had what was called a red shirt, which is when a transfer student has to sit out a season before they play.
Okay.
So that first year, he was able to just focus on school, get acclimated to the heat in Texas. When he moved to Waco, he had a pretty serious girlfriend, so he was probably able to spend a lot more time with her than he would have if he was actually playing the games. I mean, he still had to attend practices and training and games, but I think the pressure, he wasn't an active player.
Gotcha.
So he was able to focus more on his schoolwork and such. Patrick quickly made friends, of course. I mean, he was just a super likable, friendly guy. He immediately clicked with two of his teammates, Carlton Dotson and Harvey Thomas. Carlton Dotson was a standout in high school in his tiny hometown of Hurlock, Maryland. It was a very rural area, very small, not a lot going on there as far as extracurriculars. But by all accounts, he was genuinely good at the game. So Carlton was a big fish in a small pond, you might say. His high school basketball coach described him as a really humble guy, good homegrown young man. And the whole town was rooting for him. Like they really felt like he was going to make it big someday.
Oh, wow.
So he went off to Baylor and joined the team where he fit right in with the other players and students. And when they met, Patrick was drawn to that goofball side of Carlton that he had, you know, and they ended up living together in student housing at the Sterling University Parks apartment. Harvey Thomas was also a new recruit to Baylor. Patrick actually picked him up from the airport, and that's how they met.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
He's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Patrick, your teammate." So, I mean, Patrick was just that kind of guy, you know.
Well, and it's a basketball team is a brotherhood. Y'all
I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
You pick my brain. I tell you. Feels good. No. Feels good. But yeah, you're right. He had a new brother and he was going to the airport to meet him. And it was like a brotherhood. It was like a family. So when Harvey arrived, his apartment wasn't quite ready for him to move in. I'm not sure why, but Patrick was like, dude, stay with me and Carlton for like as long as you need to. And Harvey was pleased. I mean, he was folding into a new life in Waco, with two people he immediately hit it off with. You know, he's about to start playing basketball for Baylor. Yeah. It's like
life is happening.
He's got his big draws on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Life was so great that he invited his cousin Larry to come visit him. And he's like, Larry, come see my digs. Come see my new life. Yeah. And kind of show off a bit. But when Larry came to town, well, that was the beginning of a whole bunch of trouble.
Oh, no. Yeah. Larry.
He was a bit of a jerk.
Oh.
He flirted with other teammates' girlfriends. There was accusations of stolen money from some of the players. And there was an accusation that he broke into Patrick's car at one point. And on top of all of that, Patrick told his close friend Daniel back in California that Larry and Harvey had threatened him in Carlton with a gun.
Oh, who is this guy?
I know. Just a troublemaker.
And why is he there? Just go back home.
I know, exactly. Go home, Larry. Get a job.
Yeah.
Like, when he said he threatened him with a gun, he meant like he pointed a gun in their face and gestured like he was going to shoot them.
You don't play. You don't play like that.
I know. This is silliness. But Carlton, he was not having the best time in his life at this point. So this was just icing on the cake. He was newly married And when I say newly married, I mean he had been married 7-8 months at this point.
Wow.
When his wife left him and moved back home.
Oh, no.
I saw one report that he got super jealous when Larry and his wife encountered each other at a party. And he was flirting with her. She was kind of smiling. And Carlton flew off the handle.
Larry.
And I think that was like the last straw for her. So she left. If that's not bad enough, he was about to get booted from the team.
What?
Yeah.
Because he was like mentally...
Well, he was getting less and less playtime. He wasn't focusing during the games. He wasn't scoring points. And so the coach was just basically putting him in when he had to.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, here's your playing time.
I know.
Participation.
Like, let's give this guy a break. 5-minute break.
Oh, no. God.
And, you know, I think all of that stuff going on would likely affect your focus during the game.
Right.
And now him and his best friend are being threatened
with a gun.
By their other friend.
Yeah.
That they thought was their friend. So in the beginning of June, Patrick, this is now a year after Patrick has been there.
Okay.
So June 2003, Patrick bought 2 pit bulls to live with him just in case for protection. Because he was like starting to get really worried about this whole threat thing. He also bought 2 guns.
Was it that bad? I mean, like, whoa.
You know, it's so interesting because he didn't articulate the specifics about the threats, the this, the that. So his girlfriend and his friend Daniel, who he confided in about being worried and scared for his safety, it was very vague. They had the names of these other players, Harvey and Larry, so they knew that they were teammates, or Larry was not a teammate, but he was the cousin. But they didn't have the specifics. And like you say, it was really that bad. But
I mean,
Patrick's
if someone,
mind,
if someone
it was
pointed a gun at me, I would just...
And they knew where he lived. So he's like, I mean, he was locking the door, answering the door with the gun in his hand. Like,
it just seems like so much more happened.
It seems like something else was going on.
Yeah.
Patrick ended up calling his friend Daniel frantic one day and Daniel was shocked because Patrick was not scared of anything. He's like, I've never heard him like this. Like, Patrick told Daniel, you know, it had to do with Carlton, and he told him that about the threats, about how he bought guns and the dogs, all of it. But again, it was very vague. He wouldn't tell him specifics over the phone. There was another guy that lived with Patrick and Carlton named Chris, and he was taken aback when Carlton and Patrick bought guns. Number one, they were not allowed in student housing. Number two, Patrick was never known to have a gun or handle a gun. I mean, he never spoke about guns. It wasn't like, it just was out of left field. And so this was just like, I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
Patrick's girlfriend Jessica told him, you need to go to the coaches. Like, this is ridiculous. That they should be there to protect you.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she said that was, you know, when she had that conversation with him, she didn't feel super worried, you know, like she just thought,
like he's, I don't know. That's just strange. Like it's almost like he's blowing it off.
It's almost like he's paranoid. And yeah. So I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah.
So Carlton and Patrick went to the head coach, the coaches, and said, you know, Harvey's cousins, he threatened me. We were fearful. I'm sure they told them a little bit more detail than they told their friends. They told them about the stolen money. They told them about the break-in. And they're basically like, look, it's taken us a lot to come to you with this.
Yeah.
And the coaches were like, okay, all right, let's not be hasty. We'll look into it. but let's not make this something that it's not.
But it already is something.
Right. They wanted to handle whatever this was internally because the last thing the team needed on top of losing was infighting. And so the coaches essentially did nothing. They're like, okay, remain calm and we'll figure this out. Which further made Patrick feel alone. Because
and unsheltered, and
the players' interests are supposed to be top priority for the coaches and the staff and like the brotherhood of the team. And he just felt alone.
Oh man.
So June 13th, 2003, the brand spanking new assistant coach, Abar Rouse, was in charge of checking roll for the players. I mean, he'd literally go to these classrooms.
Oh.
He had all their schedules. He'd go to every class and make sure that the players were there.
Okay. So if you're that strict and organized to do that, why would you not?
I said he was brand spanking new.
Okay. Yeah, you did say that.
Remember. But Patrick was not in class that day.
Oh.
He had been to class the day before, but he was not in class that day. And it was a Friday. So Abar was just like, rolled his eyes. And again, he's brand new. So he doesn't know these guys from Adam really. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to talk to him. He's
like, this is already happening.
When I see him on Monday. Because it was Friday at this point. He's probably not going to see him. Meanwhile, Patrick's girlfriend couldn't get a hold of him.
No.
His girlfriend called Carlton. And Carlton's like, I don't know where he is. That weekend was Father's Day, apparently. And Patrick's stepdad didn't get a phone call.
Oh, no.
And didn't get a card or anything. And he just thought, oh, he's busy. I'll let this slide. Like, I'm not going to get over the top about this. And so the weekend passed and it seemed like whatever he was up to that weekend, he should have gotten it out of his system and been back to practice, back to class, back to all the things on Monday. But he wasn't. Matter of fact, Carlton wasn't at school either.
Oh.
Yeah. He'd actually gone back home to Maryland.
He went home.
So was Patrick with him?
With him? Yeah. Okay. They just decided to go on a trip.
Yeah, I guess. Patrick's parents ended up reaching out to Carlton because they got a phone call from the coaching staff after they hadn't seen him for days. And they're like, wait a minute. What? So his girlfriend couldn't get a hold of him. His mom couldn't get a hold of him. She kind of brushed it off.
Okay.
But then the coaches call her like 6 days later and they're like, we haven't heard from your son. And so she calls in a missing persons report.
Yeah.
Because.
Oh my gosh. And she's so far away.
I know. She's like, well, for it to trickle down like this.
Yeah.
And get back to her in this way, she was very concerned. So when his mom heard that they couldn't get a hold of him, she asked Coach Bliss, well, where is he? Coach Bliss was like, I don't know. I'm not his keeper.
Well, you
and
kind of
like,
are.
I'm sorry. She was like, what? It didn't make her feel good.
Well, no.
It didn't make her feel good that he didn't know where his player was.
Right.
And that he seemed to not care.
That's
almost. So Patrick's friend Daniel and another friend, of course, he couldn't get a hold of him. So Daniel was like, let's go to Waco. And so he gets in the car and he drives to Waco.
Well, good
from
on
California.
You. Wow.
And
it's a long drive, by the way.
I know it is. And when they got there, they found the landlady and convinced her somehow to unlock the apartment for them. Yeah. And by now, Chris, the other roommate, had been home and had seen the dogs were left unattended, seen that.
And he didn't even say anything?
Well, he did. He was one of the people that was like, what's going on?
Okay.
But when Daniel arrived, the apartment stunk.
Oh,
it just like, Chris was like, I don't know where they are. Like, I have no idea what's going on. The dogs were left behind unattended.
And Chris couldn't have like let the dogs out or something.
Well, he probably was kind of taking care of them, but
as much as he could. But
he had been gone for a few days apparently.
Okay.
And so he's like trying to clean up a mess and
my gosh,
like figure it out. And And he's probably got classes. I mean, he probably has a job. You know, who knows? So Daniel was kind of like, this apartment stinks really bad. You know, the dogs, like, it was really sad because Patrick loved those dogs. Him and Carlton were so excited about getting those pit bulls.
Oh.
Then, as they're making their way through the apartment, Daniel found a half-packed suitcase on Patrick's bed. Oh. Like he was planning to go somewhere, but just disappeared instead. Like, confusing.
Yeah, that is.
So naturally, Harvey was probably the first person to be questioned, other than, you know, his family, and seriously questioned by police. By now, Patrick's family had told authorities about the threats and the trouble that he had been having, and said, I don't know if this is related, but you might want to talk to Harvey. Harvey was totally relaxed, chillaxed,
of course,
Max and all cool, shooting b-ball outside of school. He even laughed at times during the interview.
Okay.
And his cousin Larry was also interviewed. And of course, both men denied knowing anything about where Patrick was the last time he was seen. They hadn't seen him in weeks, they said. They hadn't threatened him with a gun. What? None of this. What? None of it's true.
Yeah. Putting on a show.
Yeah. So police talked to Patrick's friend and roommate Carlton, and that's when they found out that he had gone back to Maryland and he was visiting family, possibly laying low from all this, you know, hullabaloo with Harvey and his cousin. Maybe he was trying to avoid conflict back in Waco, so he was taking some time away. He told police, you know, I haven't spoken to Patrick in days. I don't know where he is. He's not with me, though.
Okay.
So Coach Bliss, not exactly cooperating with police.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Police tried to get an appointment with this all too important Coach Bliss.
To talk about his player that's missing.
Right. But he refused to take their calls.
No.
He refused to meet with him. And he just told the other coaches, like, hold them off. Like, tell them to go away. Tell them something so that they'll go away.
No, one of your star players is missing.
I know. Would-be star player, because he didn't even get a chance to play. So that was really odd to detectives. I mean, why would he not want to help them find one of his players?
Right.
He's supposed to be looking out for these young men. Maybe the coach did want to help, they thought, but was just so busy. But when they finally managed to get an audience with Coach Bliss, he was very short with them, and he left the room abruptly.
What is this guy's
after their meeting?
Deal?
Yeah, they managed to just about get in enough conversation where Coach Bliss denied any fighting between the players, any conflicts that he knew of. That's about all they got from that meeting, if you can even call it that. So June 25th, a couple weeks after Patrick was last seen, the Waco Police Department released a statement to the news asking for help from the public. I mean, they explained how the Baylor men's basketball player had been missing since June 11th, June 12th. They weren't really sure. The following day, June 26th, police were making progress in the case, it seemed. Patrick's Chevy Tahoe was located abandoned in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Well, that's a long way away.
Yeah, not exactly near Waco. And it didn't have license plates on it. So it was clear that somebody was trying to ditch this car.
Okay.
Make people not notice it. Was Patrick that afraid of threats that he just took off?
And not told anybody.
Right. But after visiting the area where Patrick's car was found and speaking to the local authorities, police were not getting that vibe at all. For starters, they hauled the car into the local police lab or wherever you take a car to inspect it. And they went over it with a fine-tooth comb, and they couldn't lift one fingerprint in that car.
Oh, it was wiped down.
I mean, cleaned out, wiped down, not so much as a greasy Whataburger receipt.
Okay.
Floating in the back.
Interesting.
Floorboard, like my car. If Patrick was in such a hurry to get out of town, why did he take the time to detail his car? And if he had the time to do all that, surely he would have finished packing a suitcase and taken it with him, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the same day Patrick's car was found, Coach Bliss put out a statement, finally, expressing his personal concern for Patrick.
So good of you to
Thanks for joining us.
Right.
As the head coach, you know, it's not normal to go days without speaking to your players, he said. And it was unlike Patrick to be out of touch. So suddenly he's just so concerned. He said the coaching staff and the university were working with the authorities to assist in any way they could in the investigation. And he asked for privacy for his team during this uncertain time.
Okay. I'm sure you do want privacy.
Yeah. So next, Waco police, who had flown out to Virginia Beach, they realized just how close Virginia Beach was to Maryland. Mm-hmm. They're like,
that's what I'm sitting here thinking. They're like on its way to Maryland,
Carlton
isn't it?
Is just up the road, essentially. And actually, they found out that Carlton was in Delaware at his grandparents' house, which is just a stone's throw from Maryland, where he was from. They're adjacent states, and so he was over there. So they went to Delaware with the Delaware
oh my gosh,
police, the local police department, and asked, you know, could they ask him some questions? So Carlton went with the police on June 27th and sat down for a formal interview with Detective Fuller from Waco. He just wanted really to get more information about Patrick. He knew that Carlton was very, very close with Patrick. So did he know where Patrick was? Like, was Patrick hiding somewhere?
Right.
Just like, tell us he's safe, essentially.
And tell me, why did you really need to go to Maryland now?
Right. So things ended up getting a little bit weird every time Detective Fuller would ask a new line of questioning regarding Patrick specifically.
Oh.
Carlton got a bit carried away with talking about drugs. He claimed that the assistant coach, Abar Rouse, was having players sell drugs for him, cocaine and this and that. And Detective Fuller was like, what? Like, I asked if Patrick was a nice guy. Like, what do you mean Abar is using you as drug mules? Like, so it didn't feel like any of it was genuinely related to Patrick's disappearance. It felt like a wild goose chasing its tail.
Okay.
But he let him talk, as you do in these situations.
Just see what he has to say.
Yeah. And he did this thing that most detectives do, where he's like, I'll be right back. You know, and they walk off, and then they kind of watch him on the monitor for a minute, let him squirm, you know. And they're watching him on the monitor, and he's like mumbling to himself. He's laying his head down on the table. He's putting his head in his hands. Just getting antsy. So Detective Fuller goes back in the room and immediately starts asking about Patrick again. He said he was trying to get things back on track. Mm-hmm. Let's get back to why we're here.
Right.
That's Patrick. Like, we'll talk about the drugs another time.
Right.
So he asked Carlton, you know, what's Patrick like? Like, what's his personality like? Trying to, I guess, get a victimology. Like we would want to know what's his routine? What's he up to? And Carlton said, Patrick is... And what he said afterwards was totally irrelevant, because Detective Fuller was thinking to himself, like, Carlton clearly said Patrick was, and then immediately stopped, caught himself, corrected himself, and Detective Fuller was like, immediately he said, when was the last time you saw Patrick? And Carlton said, we need to stop this right here.
Oh, do we?
And Fuller was like, you mean you want to stop talking to me? You want to stop the interview? And Carlton said, yes, he wanted to leave. So they drove him back home to his grandparents' house.
Oh, no.
Fuller shook his hand and looked him in the eyes. And Carlton walked back to the house, never looked back at him.
Okay.
Yeah. So back in Waco.
Don't let him go.
Back in Waco, there was a good reason why Coach Bliss was very tight-lipped and unwilling to give police the time of day in those early days of the investigation. It was because he had a big old poop in his pants and he didn't want anyone to know about it. I'm sorry. You got to say poop in the last episode.
I did say poop.
And that's all we talk
Now's
about
your
at my
time to
house.
shine.
I know. So Patrick's girlfriend, Jessica, was not comfortable with the lack of attention that Patrick's case or whatever was going on. She was like, why are y'all like just Waco PD? Like, you got Carlton over here in Maryland. You've got his car in Virginia Beach. Why isn't the FBI involved?
I was just about to when you said they went to Delaware,
it takes
I'm like,
a woman, okay, to think of these things.
I'm like, surely the FBI is involved by now because it's multiple states.
No, they weren't. They were not.
Candace.
Yeah. So Jessica apparently, okay, I didn't get into the research on this, but she was apparently a college ball player as well.
Oh, wow.
She thought, you know what? If I report an NCAA violation, then the FBI sometimes gets involved in things like that.
Look at her.
So she was like, I'll self-report my violation because she had been taking money from her school, her coach or whatever. And so had Patrick.
Oh.
Yeah. So she reported to the NCAA how Patrick was accepting money from Coach Bliss
to play on the
for
team.
living expenses, tuition. He bought him that Tahoe with cash.
Oh.
Yeah.
With cash, so it's
From
under
Coach
the table.
Bliss.
Okay.
Yep. There was no scholarship. There was no full ride scholarship. That whole year that Patrick was sitting out and just acclimating to Baylor University life and all of that was being funded by Coach Bliss.
But so was Patrick going to classes? Did he have classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was going to class and he was doing the stuff, but he knew where the money was coming from.
Oh.
Now, we know this is wrong, and Patrick knew it was wrong, and he knew it was a violation of the NCAA rules. But he's not the first and won't be the last.
Right.
Because we know this still goes on.
It happens. It has happened. Yes.
They're still doing it somehow around the country, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, I have struggled with this part of the story because this whole scandal that was unearthed as a result of Patrick's disappearance felt inconsequential to the real story. It felt like every turn that I tried to find out something about Patrick was some other dirty underbelly detail about the men's basketball team. And it became less about Patrick Dennehy.
Okay.
He was someone's child.
Yeah.
He was someone's brother, and he had friends that loved him. The scandal to me is secondary, so I'll finish telling you about all that stuff, and then we'll get back to Patrick.
Okay.
So Coach Bliss was not reporting failed drug tests for his team.
Oh.
And there's so much he did. There's so much he did that I'm leaving out. I just kind of want to gloss over it. If you want, there's a really great documentary. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but it's called Disgraced. It's on Showtime.
Oh, okay.
They get really in the weeds about the scandal, which is why I couldn't finish it. It just really pissed me off. But if you want to know all the dirty details, you can go watch that. There were allegations that he was sending test answers to prospective recruits so that they would pass entrance exams to get into Baylor.
Where's the integrity?
And apparently he was doing this stuff at other schools too, mainly SMU.
Oh, no.
There was a whole big blow up. An investigation after the fact.
Are you going to tell us where Coach Bliss is now?
I will tell you that he went to another school after all this happened.
Okay.
And then in 2017, when the Disgrace documentary came out, he resigned 4 days later.
Okay, bye.
So,
okay.
He was like, you know what? I'm going to take up golf.
Step down.
But remember when Carlton talked about selling drugs in his interrogation, like, and how the assistant coach was in on it and whatnot, he didn't come up with that on the fly. Coach Bliss told his staff and players to tell people that Patrick was dealing drugs. And that's how he afforded to attend Baylor.
Oh.
It's true that Patrick couldn't afford to attend Baylor, but he wasn't selling drugs.
Yeah.
He didn't need to because he had sugar daddy Coach Bliss paying his tuition and such. Coach Bliss went so far as to record statements on little tape recorders and give them to his coaching staff and say, practice this statement.
Wow.
Practice this lie.
That's pretty bold.
It is.
He's putting it on tape where somebody can just be like, look, this is what he gave us to say.
Yeah. And this brand new assistant coach was like, he was a Baylor alumni. This was the opportunity of a lifetime for him. He had been there like a little over a week when all this stuff was going on. And he's like, hold up. You want me to lie? You want me to talk about drugs? You want me to do what?
I just got this job.
He's like, what? So when he was questioned by police, because he was named, Abar was named, he was confronted by police and they were like, Carlton says you've got drug mules on the team. He was like,
oh my gosh.
Poor Abar. This poor guy. But before investigators could even fully finish their sentence asking him to take a polygraph, he was like, hook me up. Hook me up.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, he's like, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. So he passed with flying colors, and they were pretty confident that all of that was just a lie. Another lie that Carlton was telling. And they're starting to see these lies, connect. And they're looking at Carlton in a different way now. Baylor was punished for all this going on. They didn't participate in the postseason games for 2003-2004. Blah da blee, blah da blue. Who cares? They got punished. They're still a team. They're still making millions.
Right.
The end. Anyway, so the FBI gets a phone call that Carlton Dotson wants to confess.
Oh.
And the FBI's like, who? They're like, why does he want to talk to us? Like, they got wind that Carlton's attorney had made a couple of phone calls to media outlets in the area saying that Carlton was going to be releasing a statement, which seemed so weird. The FBI was like, why are we involved in this? Oh. And so...
Well, because there's multiple states involved.
Yes. And so they started to learn about this player who was missing, the NCAA violations. They're getting wind of all this and putting it together. So they sat down with Carlton. And he just really wanted to be silly. He was like, I hear these voices. I'm the son of God.
Oh, no.
He said he was from a family of prophets. He chuckled in between absurdities. And he didn't want to talk about anything else. So he left the interview. They're like,
he is just playing games.
He is nuts, is what he is. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, you're going to confess. And then all you want to do is talk about the fact that you are a prophet. Like, they're like, okay, you're a prophet. And he's like, I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more than that.
Sure.
And they're like, okay, I'm so confused. And I think over the next couple days, Carlton's family was like seeing him kind of unravel. He was not eating. He wasn't sleeping. He was going to different rooms of the house, quoting scripture and just acting a little bit strange. And they're like, listen,
he was doing that at home, like
he was
not
doing
even
this at home.
So it's not like he was just putting on an act for the law
and
enforcement.
They're like, listen, if you need to tell them something, you ought to tell them.
Oh, he was having a spiritual war in
his.
He was having,
come to Jesus, mate.
Yeah.
So I think they were just trying to appeal to him, like, you just turn yourself in.
Yeah.
So Carlton called 911 to let them know that he wanted to talk with the police. the operator was like, "Are you wanted?" I mean, it's so funny because like nobody knows what's going on. You know, like nobody's connected. Okay. He didn't say his name. And so she's like, "Are you wanted?" And he's like, she was like, "This is an emergency line. Like, do you have an emergency?" And he's like, "Well, local police, you know, they want to keep tabs on me. So, you know, like, just tell him I want to talk to him."
Okay.
So they get him in this hotel room now. And it's like this, they've got this little mini interview set up, and they hit the record button and listen intently as Carlton told them about the last time he saw Patrick. The last time anyone saw Patrick, for that matter. It was June 12th. Patrick asked Carlton if he wanted to go practice shooting the guns. So they drove out to this remote area, and they had been doing this.
Okay.
They bought the guns and they were practicing.
Okay.
I mean, I bought a shotgun like how many ever years ago. I've never shot the thing.
Oh, well, you might need to practice.
I should practice, but I really got it for home defense or like just to make the noise and scare people away.
But what if you actually need to use it?
That's a good point. But what I'm getting at is that they were so afraid that they were actually actively shooting the guns, getting comfortable with them.
Okay.
They were that fearful.
Okay.
I'm not fearful.
And so they were just going to this remote location.
Yeah. So the
which there's a lot of remote locations in the Waco area.
Yeah. So they the people that they got the pit bull puppies from owned some land.
Oh, okay.
And so they would go out to their place and hang out with them, chum around. This wasn't their land, but Patrick just was like, "Let's go out and shoot guns." So this wasn't weird to Carlton. So they parked up, and Patrick gave Carlton one of the guns. He kept one of the guns, and the men get out of the car, and Carlton said that he was shocked when Patrick raised the gun and fired at him.
At Carlton.
Fired at him. He says, luckily the gun jammed and didn't go off.
No way.
And he said, Patrick supposedly started racking the gun, trying to get it unjammed, tried to reload so he can shoot Carlton. And Carlton took that opportunity to shoot Patrick once in the head.
Whoa.
He said, "Father, forgive me," and he shot him.
Whoa.
He drove away in Patrick's Tahoe, hit Highway 35 going north, stopped in Dallas at a lake and tossed the gun in that he used to shoot Patrick, and drove up to Maryland, where his uncle helped him deep clean that car and ditch it in Virginia Beach. So,
wow.
It's so, I've always found it interesting what people choose to lie about.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like we see these serial killers that will lie and say they didn't rape a person when they clearly did.
And they've told you all these
but
other
they will
gruesome...
say, "I chopped his head off, I cut him up, I put him in a wood chipper."
Yeah.
They say the most gruesome things they don't want to admit to the rape part.
Right.
Some killers, it's like they don't want to admit that they just killed him because. So they make up the story to make themselves feel better.
Okay.
So it was late the night of July 27th when a body was found and positively identified to be Patrick Dennehy. A couple days before, Carlton had pointed the police in the direction. They'd given him a map, and he's like, "Well, it's kind of hard to tell from this map. I don't really know, but maybe in this area."
Oh.
They did search where he had pointed out and didn't find anything. But sure enough, a detective, I think it was Detective Fuller, went out to the same area. He started driving around behind groups of trees, and then he sees this like dirt path in the middle of a field. He thought it was strange, so he thought, well, maybe they saw this too and pulled over here.
Okay.
So he pulls over and he gets out and he's walking into the grass and he starts seeing bullets strewn in the grass.
Oh.
And then he smells decomp. So he followed his nose and he found Patrick laying among the tall, overgrown grass.
And I'm sorry, this is in Virginia?
This is in Waco.
In Waco.
Yeah,
oh.
Sorry. Yeah, Carlton's back in Waco now because he was arrested and all that. Yeah, I totally left that part out.
No, you probably said it. I just
I didn't.
missed. Oh,
I didn't. I didn't say it. You're just supposed to fill in the blanks. So he was just left out there to bake in the sun like a piece of trash.
That is so awful.
Yeah. Baylor University President Robert B. Sloan Jr. released a statement to the press saying, quote, Baylor's community has always been one of faith and of prayer, and it is precisely in desperate circumstances that such ties truly bind. Last night, I called on our entire Baylor family to pray for the family of Patrick Dennehy, end quote. And then he went on to say, quote, additionally, I asked for prayer on behalf of the family of former student athlete Carlton Dotson, who has been charged with murdering Patrick, end quote. So nobody believed, because Carlton and Patrick were best friends.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody believed it could be true. Like, they were like, this is a mistake.
What could have happened?
This is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So they did end up taking the opportunity to mention the allegations of their basketball program and say that they were aware of the chatter, and there's nothing to indicate that these serious allegations were true, but they were conducting an investigation on their own. And luckily, Baylor has esteemed departments all over campus. You know, you've got the law school and this and that and other. So they were able to assemble an internal team to investigate. And they also hired... That's well, they ended up hiring outside counsel too, because that wouldn't have been a good look to just conduct an internal investigation. Patrick's body was transformed into an angel.
Yeah, he was.
Patrick's body was transported to California, where he was laid to rest in San Jose on August 7th. Let's talk about the aftermath of this, because Carlton was actually found incompetent to stand trial.
Because of his...
Yeah. He spent a few months in a mental hospital. Okay. And after months of being on antipsychotic medication, a psychologist was like, you're fine.
Oh.
So the doctor didn't
They thought it was just a ruse? Or
well, I think they felt like maybe he had schizophrenia. They were getting his symptoms under control. They never mentioned schizophrenia, but like, you know, you hear this, hearing voices, and then they're normal. So you think about the phases of
well, he's having a mental break from killing someone.
Well, right. But there was something he observed that he felt suspicious about. Because he was like, I don't think this is what you're claiming it to be.
Okay.
So Carlton's attorney did not end up going with the insanity defense.
Oh.
He pled not guilty and was going to go to trial. So the prosecution prepared for months to take this case to trial and to lay it out for the jury how Carlton heartlessly and callously killed his friend, someone that trusted him. Carlton's attorney tried on more than one occasion to come to a plea agreement with the state, but it didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
And then right before trial, Carlton changed his plea to guilty.
Oh.
Right. The trial was supposed to take place Monday, and this was like...
He's like...
the week before.
Yeah, I don't have any more time.
Yeah, with seconds on the clock. Did you like my sports reference? The defense doesn't deny... Like, they didn't deny that Carlton shot his best friend. They just said it was self-defense.
Okay.
He was going to die if he didn't do it.
Right.
They went a step further, saying that Patrick did pull the trigger, like saying that it really was self-defense because he shot with the intent to kill him.
Okay.
And then the gun jammed and all this. But Patrick's autopsy noted that he was shot twice.
Oh.
Not once.
Oh.
He was shot. Yeah, he was shot one above the right ear and one to the back of the head. And those were not consistent with self-defense.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Carlton Dotson pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 35 years, and will be eligible for parole after serving probably half that. He showed no emotion. His mother, however, shook hands with Patrick's family and apologized for their loss, and even told them that she was urging her son to plead guilty of the crime so that they didn't have to go through this trial and all this stuff. During sentencing, Patrick's stepfather, Brian Barbizon, he said, "You, Carlton Dotson, are a killer, a sinner of the worst degree, and may you never forget what you did."
Wow.
He went on to say, quote, "Patrick was someone who cared for you, who you laughed with, who was there by your side." And when Carlton was being taken away in handcuffs, Brian shouted, "Remember him, remember his face."
Oh, man.
Patrick's family vowed that they would show up for every parole hearing and advocate for Carlton's incarceration. And they kept that promise. Carlton was denied parole 3 times. But I found a Reddit thread.
Oh, okay.
And usually I don't do my research on Reddit. But when I saw this claim, I was like, huh? And I kept researching about this supposed release date, and I couldn't find any information. So I went on the Texas Parole Board website, searched for Carlton, couldn't find any information. So I called them. And this wonderful gentleman told me that Carlton Dotson was paroled November of 2024.
What?
So he's out eating Chick-fil-A and whatnot. That's our justice system.
Okay.
That's our justice system. But let's not get sidetracked. He was sentenced to 35 years. We knew because
that he would be getting out sometime. Yeah.
We knew he was getting out. We know that 35 means 3.
Yeah.
We know that life does not mean life.
Right.
And we just need to focus on the fact that Patrick Dennehy was on the brink of his dreams coming true.
Yeah.
He was about to get the opportunity to play and shine, and he wanted to go pro so bad because he wanted to buy his mom a house.
Oh,
he wanted to buy his sister a car. I mean, that's just the type of person he was. He was thinking of when he achieves greatness, how he was going to bless others.
Oh.
That's just the type of person he was.
I love that.
And I want to leave you with that. Let's forget about Carlton.
Yeah.
Let's forget about the scandal. That stuff is out of our hands.
Yeah.
What we can do is talk about Patrick and what a life he might have lived.
Right. The life that the greatness that he grew into at 13 years old.
And like him and his girlfriend were talking about getting married.
Oh.
And, it was all stripped away. For what? For what?
Okay. That's the thing. I don't want to go back to Carlton, but he can so easily just kill a friend. For what?
For what? I think he was jealous.
Oh, okay.
I think he was jealous. Carlton's life was crumbling.
Yeah.
He was a has-been.
Okay.
And Patrick's journey was just about to begin.
Yeah.
And it's like he didn't want to lose all that and see his best friend step into the spotlight and leave him in his dust.
Gotcha.
Patrick would have never. I mean, he would have remained friends with Carlton, I'm sure.
So I'm going to go back to the scandal because I still have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do drugs?
I don't know. I didn't really look. So Patrick had, by all accounts, his friends,
his
not teammates.
That was not him.
No one ever saw him maybe smoke marijuana,
Maybe.
but nothing like cocaine or dealing drugs or selling it. None of that seemed to be the case. You know what I mean? It just...
But also, why Coach Bliss is telling everyone to say that?
Because he wanted
hide the money.
Hide the money stuff. So he wanted to look like Patrick was making all this money on his own, because people were starting to learn there was no
scholarship.
Right.
Okay.
On paper. Like they couldn't find any record of it.
Wow.
So he just wanted to cover his butt.
Well, to Patrick Dennehy's family, you did a great job raising him. He was going places and doing the thing. You should be
so proud.
Yes. Wow.
And I bet they fantasize about like what he would have done with his life.
Right.
I mean, and their dreams like
what kind of man
can
he
be
would be.
Endless.
Yeah.
Really. So it is so unfortunate. That this is where we're at, but rest in peace.
Yes. Fly high, rest in peace.
Fly high, Patrick. Shooting some b-ball in heaven. What could be better than that?
Yeah. So, well, thank you for telling a story. That was great. Let's do it again sometime.
Let's do it. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you for listening to Cousins on Crime. Get connected with us by becoming a free member on our Patreon. Or for just $5 a month, you'll have access to bonus episodes, discussion groups, and much more. If you can't afford $5 a month, we get it. Inflation, am I right? Please consider leaving us a positive review and rating wherever you listen.
And don't forget merch. Support our podcast and show the love by sporting t-shirts with our latest designs, or grab an evidence bag to keep the chain of custody for all your valuables. Don't forget to follow our show on your favorite streaming app so you never miss an episode, and get photos and updates on our Instagram at Cousins on Crime Podcast or our Cousins on Crime Facebook page. Have a case suggestion? Email us at cousinsoncrime@gmail.com.